The College Football Experience Conference Championship DFS show for Friday and Saturday on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET is what you need to win. Sign up today. Bet $100. Get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today.
This is Brock Purdy from Iowa State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the College Football Experience Conference Championship DFS edition for Friday and Saturday. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
Always great to play some DFS Friday, Saturday. My only disappointment is that they do not cover the Maction game on Friday morning or the FCS playoffs. Step it up, world. I am joined by the DFS god himself. We invite you to play DFS over on the College Football Experience Twitter feed. You will see the link for the invite at TCE on SGPN. Also from this guy's personal account, which is at NC__NICK. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man? But you're right. Why not the MAC game on Friday at least? Come on.
FCS playoffs too. I mean, don't they want to make more money?
That would be awesome if they just did a separate one for the FCS playoffs.
Yes.
But
yes.
Friday, there's 3 games taking place Friday. So if you don't include Akron Buffalo, you only have 2 games to pick from. So you're not going to have a lot of differences. It's going to come down to one guy or something. Be nice. It would be really nice to have a third game in there to get a little more difference in your lineups. But
they're lazy.
It's not.
They're
the
being
case.
lazy. They're being lazy.
I don't get it, man.
It's just 2022. It's the youth, you know.
But this is really the last weekend of like major college football DFS. Now, we'll definitely play some of the bowl games. We'll definitely play some of the championship games. We'll probably have a showdown lined up for the national championship. But really, this is the last like big weekend for college football DFS.
And DFSers out there, we also play college basketball nightly. So hop in. It's a lot of fun.
Kind of hard to do podcasts for that just because you don't get the slate until like really late the night before. But we'll try to sprinkle some in there, probably not on a regular basis, but periodically.
Yeah, definitely. So, let's hop into it, man. Friday.
Well, before we do that, let's do a quick recap of last week, because last week we had a Thursday showdown, Thanksgiving slate for the Mississippi State game. Trash Man won that. We've been hearing his name a lot.
Trash Man's kicking ass this year.
I swear. The Friday day, Odin's Raven won. Second place was S.J. Collins. You also hear S.J. Collins often. He's been crushing it in football and basketball. He's probably won the most basketball contests so far. I did take down yesterday. I took down the Tuesday night one, though, if I could toot my own horn there for a second. But the side bet, you won that. You had Matt Landers of Arkansas. I had Luther Burden of Missouri. Foolish of me to roster Burden over Landers. Landers has just been more consistent. I was trying to go for, lightning in a bottle with Burden, hope for a big game. We've been hoping for that all year. Never really materialized. Maybe we'll in the bowl game. don't know.
I mean, you can't fade these former Toledo wide receivers, whether it's Winstead at East Carolina or Landers at Arkansas.
That's right, the Toledo Twins. Friday night, R.R. Bolt Jr. won. This was a small slate, only a couple games. I won the side bet there, where Mims, a running back for Fresno, beat your guy Johnson, the running back for Florida, the Louisiana transfer. So at least I evened things up on the side bet.
You know, the problem there is Fresno got up. Like, I thought that game would be a little more competitive. So
they didn't pass much.
Well, they got up to such a big lead too. Like
Yeah.
I remember like checking the score in the first quarter, and I was like, "Whoa, what? It's this many points? Like they've scored this much?"
I was surprising that they focused on the run game, but that was game script. That's why they did so. I wish I could have told you I saw that coming, but either way, I won the side bet. I'll enjoy that bourbon. Then quickly on Saturday, the main slate, DTF 04021, SJ Collins 724 second. Saturday night, our guy, the one and only legend, Alan Cooley himself won.
Oh, yes.
Again, SJ Collins came in second. So there you have last week. Let's move to this week, my man.
All right. Well, Friday, like I said, we only have 2 games, the Conference USA Championship and the Pac-12 Championship. We have 3 games to watch, but only 2 games to play in the DFS slate when it comes to college football. And so I went 2 quarterbacks, but
So real quickly, those 2 games, I don't know if you mentioned them or not, but North Texas UTSA with an over-under of 69, UTSA being favored by 8.5, and the Pac-12 championship, Utah USC over-under of 68 with USC favored by 2.5 now. So the highest implied total is UTSA and the lowest is North Texas. But I think it makes sense to get a guy or two probably from all 4 teams here. And I agree. I went 2 quarterbacks as well.
And I went 2 quarterbacks in the CUSA.
Yeah, I didn't. I went with probably the Heisman front runner right now, Caleb Williams first. I know Utah's defense is solid, but he had a big game in the first game. Let's see how many fantasy points he put up against Utah. It was only 43.9 in Salt Lake City. So I think he's going to show out here. USC is going to have a big game offensively, and Caleb Williams might solidify himself as the Heisman winner with this game here.
Ooh. Well, I can
What
tell
you got on that?
Well, I mean, I think he should win the Heisman, so I'm okay with that. But I will bring you back to old October 22nd. All right.
I know where you're going with this, and it makes sense.
When Austin Une threw for 325 yards and 3 touchdowns, my friend. And that is the quarterback of North Texas being completely disrespected here. And
it's true that UTSA sold out against the run in the first matchup big time. North Texas is a run first team primarily. I think their running attack is like 22nd in the country, something like that. But to their credit, they were able to pass the ball very effectively against UTSA. I wonder what UTSA is going to do defensively if they're not quite going to sell out, versus the run as much as they did in the first game. So that's kind of, I had those question marks because in general, Une is not a great fantasy player, but it makes sense. So I'm not going to knock it.
And then on the other side of things, Frank Harris. I know last game he only, against the Mean Green, he only threw for 238, 2 touchdowns, but he had almost 100 yards rushing. And I think I want action on both these teams. I think I'm looking at this as like a 41-38 type of game.
I mean, Harris is the obvious play when you get a guy for 6.1K who averages north of 30 fantasy points. His ownership is going to be extremely high. I doubt you're going to have both of the most expensive quarterbacks in the Pac-12 showdown. So I think most people are either going to go my route or your route. And I think there's valid reasoning for both of them.
Yeah. I only did 2 running backs as well, man. I didn't do 3.
I'm loving the fact that we have some differences here. I did go 3, and most of these running back situations, actually all 4 backfields have injury issues. So there's a lot of unknowns at this point, I think. The one thing I do know, I imagine you roster him as well, Austin Jones, 6K for USC.
100%. Yes. Got to do that. I will play the music here because You got to get this guy. I think, considering their offense, considering Utah's defense hasn't been as good as a traditional Kyle Whittingham coach team, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Travis Dye went down, this was his backfield. Last couple games, he's had 20-plus carries, 100-plus yards receiving, a couple touchdowns, also catches some balls like he did against UCLA, catching 457, and the price is still affordable. So, again, he's going to be highly owned, but I think you have to get him in there. Who's your second guy?
Well, I'm curious. What do we know the situation with Tavion Thomas?
No, Tavion Thomas he's gone for the year.
Oh yeah, not Tavion Thomas. I'm sorry. With
that's the bigger question mark.
Michael Bernard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's him, there's Glover. I steered clear of the Utah backfield because of that. But I guess, I mean, Bernard, he played last week. He had 12 for 91 and a touchdown. So at 5.7K, that makes some sense if you are rostering him. But I didn't touch the Utah backfield because I'm not sure who's going to get most of the carries there.
Well, the question is you if you look at the other backs, then I like Oscar Attaway, but he's questionable.
Right.
He's questionable. And then you're like, okay, well, let me look at UTSA's running situation. And you're like, well, okay, Traylon Smith is out. You go Brendan Brady, Beefo Brady, but they don't give him a ton of carries, I feel like. But
well, Brady's injured too. Brady's been ruled out for Friday's game.
I missed that. Okay. I knew Traylon Smith. So what, do you go to Kavorian Barnes?
That's exactly who I went with. For 4.4K, you get Barnes, who came in a couple weeks ago. He was their third string running back. But lately, he had he's had 3 games over 100 yards this year. So I think that proves, given the opportunity and the touches, he can do it. And at 4.4K, my second running back is Kavorian Barnes.
I think you just sold me there. I know USC's run defense is bad, so part of me is like we should roster a Utah running back, but with the situation of the unknown.
That'll be the tricky thing, is trying to pinpoint who's going to get the touches in these backfields. But yeah, Jack Kavorian Barnes. I like that play. And you mentioned the North Texas backfield. I'm guessing Ragsdale for 3.5K is going to get most of the carries because I think he's the healthiest. Last week, 17 for 122 and a touchdown. Again, I mean, he has 2 games over 100 yards on the season. So I'm repeating myself, but I think he's proven, given the touches, he can be effective. And he's only 3.5K. So that rounds out my 3 running backs going. Ikea Ragsdale.
Yeah. Okay. So I only did 2 running backs. So I loaded up on the wideout position, and let me pull up the box score because I'm curious.
So hold on, real quick though. So that's kind of, it's interesting. So receivers are more of a sure bet on the slate, but they're also, if you want to get the top guys, they're a lot more expensive than the running backs. So it'll be interesting to see what people do. Take shots on gambles, basically, at the running back position for cheap dollar amounts. Like, Ragsdale 3.5K or Barnes 4.4, or do you load up on more expensive receivers that are probably more sure bets?
Yeah, that's my philosophy there. And I think.
Who's your top dog? What box score are you talking about?
Oh, I mean, if you do not remember, did you watch the Utah USC game?
I did not. I think I was on way too late for my East Coast ass.
So Dalton Kincaid missed some of the game with an injury. Some of it, right?
And still had 16 for 234 and a touchdown?
Yes. I mean, and I don't believe that USC has the guys on the roster to defend him correctly. Like, USC's shortcoming is on the defensive side of the ball, and especially, I would say, the linebacker and safety position. If anything, I think the strength of the defense is probably their corners. I think he's going to have another big day. It's the only way I can see Utah staying in this game. And I don't think they have an answer to guard him. He's bigger than everyone on their defense.
Play the music, man. I'm with you.
Boom. Dalton Kincaid. Let's go.
I guess my one concern, I mean, obviously USC saw what he did to them week 1. USC saw what he did to them week 1, and I don't know if Utah has that many other options in the passing game. So maybe they tried to double up the tight end there. But I mean, 6.6K is kind of expensive for a tight end. But on this slate here, I mean, if you want to get anybody on Utah, he's probably your guy, and he's definitely mine.
I don't think they have the guys to do it. It's almost like Gronk. This guy is a beast, man. This guy is an absolute beast.
What if I told you he was my cheapest of my 3 pass catchers? Is he your most expensive?
No, he is in the middle of the road for me.
Okay, you just started with him because you wanted to.
Oh, just because his performance was unbelievable.
Gotcha.
Like, I mean, come on, that thing stood out.
Right.
I'm taking you back to the CUSA for my remaining 3 wideouts.
Loading up on those meeps, huh?
Yes, Zachary Franklin.
Play the music again. I got him.
Road Runners, baby. 76 catches on the season, 11 touchdowns. This guy's a fucking beast. And when you factor in, there's another guy on that team with the same amount of catches. He's got a little less amount of touchdowns. But I also loaded up Joshua Cephas, 76 catches as well. They spread the ball out well here. I'm taking both of those Road Runners. Did you roster Cephas as well?
I didn't. I had a little bit more money to play with. Obviously, both of those UTSA receivers are really good. And they also had the third guy, too. His name is escaping me, but he's out for the year. So
Corian Clark.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so they had like a 3-headed monster at receiver, and all 3 of those guys produced. It was a little tough to kind of pinpoint which one would have the biggest game every game. But now with only 2 of them, it makes sense. But no, I went Jordan Addison, 7.4K. I'm going to stack him and Williams. I mean, Addison, the first game against Utah, he had 7 for 106 and a touchdown. If we think USC is going to win this game, if we think they're going to advance to the playoffs, and if Caleb Williams gets Heisman, that probably means also a big day for Addison. So I like my USC stack there. And that rounds out my lineup. I think you have one more guy left, right?
I do, and I guess I have to ask myself the question here. Do you go perhaps with Mario Williams or Washington, the other USC wideout? Or I'm going to take a shot on North Texas's Roderick Burns. This guy lit up the Roadrunners in their first matchup. 6 catches for 139 yards. I like the fact that I think that's the weakness of UTSA, and I think they're going to exploit it. I don't even know that they shut down the run, because when I look at what they did last time, they only attempted to run the ball 14 times all game, right? I think Seth Littrell sees the weakness in the Roadrunner defense as their pass defense, and I think he put together a pretty good game plan. I expect him to do the same. Roderick Burns is my guy at 5,600.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the best receiver on the Mean Green, and he did have that big game, 6 for 139. But in the 5 games since then, he's only had 8 catches total.
I think that's all game plan based.
Sure.
I think they have the most dominant offensive line, and like to against all the other CUSA teams.
The question is that game a carbon copy of the first one, where North Texas elects or is forced to throw the ball? That remains to be seen. I guess my one critique of your lineup is that you have nobody on the USC passing game.
Yes.
One of the best passing games in the country.
Well, they got like 4 guys that catch the ball.
Fair enough.
And I actually think the real critique of my lineup is not rostering Cameron Rising or Caleb Williams. I think that's the real critique.
Yeah, there was a lot of points in that first match I wasn't there.
Yeah. Because I'll be honest, when I first did this, I did a lineup with Caleb Williams, and then I thought, you know what, everyone's going to have Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So,
well, if we're looking at a side bet here, kind of tough. Who's your cheapest guy on your whole roster? What was it? Was it Barnes? Did you switch over to Barnes? at
It
running
is,
back?
yeah.
I don't know if a good side bet really presents itself here because we have two of the same.
What about Franklin against or not Franklin, Cephas against Addison?
Oh, if you want a piece of that, sure thing.
Look, you gotta have some fun. Let's go.
All right. I like bourbon. I'll gladly take another bottle off your hands. Let's do it.
Fucking go.
All right. Sign me up.
All right, let's hop on over to the Saturday slate. But before I get to the Saturday slate, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience DFS show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET is what you need to win. Sign up today. Bet $100. Get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. All right, now we are hopping over to Saturday slate.
Quick rundown of games. K-State, TCU, Big 12 championship, over-under of 62. One of the only two games with an over-under north of 60. You might want to target that. You got the MAC championship, Toledo, Ohio, over-under 55. The Sun Belt with Coastal and Troy, over-under of 48. The SEC, LSU, Georgia, over-under 51. The American, UCF, Tulane, over-under 56.5. You got the Mountain West, Fresno, Boise, 54. The Big Ten, Purdue, Michigan, over-under only 52. And then you got the other one with an over-under of 63.5. Clemson, UNC in the ACC nightcap. There were so many running backs I wanted on this slate that I decided to only go with one quarterback and a very cheap one at that.
Ooh. Very. I'm assuming. I think we might have the same quarterback then.
My guy, who's my MAC team?
Oh no, that is not my quarterback. You're going Ohio Bobcats. Okay.
I'm going Ohio Bobcats. CJ Harris. He's only has one career start to his name, and that was last week. But he did run for 65 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. Only threw for 196, so not too bad, and a touchdown through the air. So he was responsible for 4 touchdowns. He's only 5.5K. Yes, this is a gamble. Is he ready for the big stage in Detroit at the MAC championship? But I think this Ohio offense, there's playmakers all the way around there. They're going to put up some points on Toledo. So a big time roll of the dice here, but I'm going CJ Harris, 5.5K.
How much money do you have left over?
Let's see here. I have none. Spent every last dollar.
So our battle of bourbon might have to be this, because at 5,700, Aiden O'Connell, baby. Aiden O'Connell. Look, I think Purdue is a live dog in this game. I think tragic magic is at stake. Aiden O'Connell lost his brother, unfortunately.
I do like that angle.
Yeah. I think he's going to play his ass off in this home state because this game is in Indianapolis. I think I think his team's going to get up for him. 5,700. Sign me up all day here. I did go with 2 quarterbacks, and my second quarterback is in your game.
Did you go DeQuan Finn?
I did, because the Ohio Bobcat defense is fucking pathetic. All right, and DeQuan Finn is going to exploit them all day. He should be the number 1 rated quarterback in my mind on this slate, because this defense is that bad. Let's go.
He's priced pretty low too, right? He's at 6.7K.
Yeah.
Is he healthy? I guess that's
he doesn't even need to be against this defense.
I know, but it's not like Western Michigan has a great defense either, and he just put up negative fantasy points last week.
I think Western Michigan actually had like the 3rd or 4th best defense in the MAC.
He ran for negative yards and went 5 of 11 passing for 35 yards. That scared me off. Hey, look, he's capable of having some big games. He put up damn near 50 fantasy points against Kent State. Or is that Kentucky? No, that's Kent State, right? Kent State. Yeah. Earlier in the year. So he's capable, but I think just his last performance with him coming back from that injury, I don't know. He didn't look right to me. So, but I get it.
We got the O'Connell battle, maybe a bottle of bourbon there, only $200 more.
That is leader in the clubhouse right now. But let's get through the rest of our lineup first. I got 4 running backs.
I have 2.
Wow, I like the difference. So let's start off with Deuce Vaughn. If K-State is going to beat TCU like we think they might, I would expect a big game from Deuce Vaughn. I think we touched on this either last week or the week before. When Adrian Martinez was the quarterback, he vultured rushing touchdowns from Deuce Vaughn. Since his injury, Vaughn's been better. And that was on display last week, 25 for 147 and a touchdown. Sounds good. I think in the first TCU game, what did he do? He had 12 for 83 and a touchdown, 4 for 38 through the air. Not great, but the third string quarterback for Kansas State that came in really
terrible.
Yeah, the whole offense came to a grinding halt. So I think Deuce Vaughn has a much bigger game against TCU this go around.
Well, you know what I do with I mean, you can't go wrong with Deuce Vaughn. He's got an NIL deal with Porsche. Shout out to that. It wouldn't be DFS for Pick Dundee if I didn't go with
Tajay Spears.
Did I just see he was first team running back all AAC?
Yeah. Hell of a running back.
I mean, 14 touchdowns on the ground, over 1,100 yards rushing, pretty much 1,200 yards rushing. And then don't forget about what he does in catching passes as well. He's like the 4th leading receiver on this team or 5th leading receiver on this team. He's got 240 yards receiving, couple scores there. You didn't roster Tajay Spears?
No, I didn't. And I got the money to also.
Pathetic.
So the running back I rostered, my second guy, is Will Shipley for Clemson.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
And he's $100 more expensive than Spears. Now, I told you in the Picks podcast last night, I think Clemson's going to beat UNC. I think the running game is going to do whatever it wants pretty much. I expect a big game from Shipley. But, I mean, him versus Spears is a tough call. It is. But I'm going to go Shipley.
All right. Might have another bottle of bourbon. Might just have to be battling bourbon on every player here.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I'm assuming we have this next guy because I'm staying in the same game. Your boy from Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
RJ Harvey for the Golden Knights. He's still not valued correctly. 5,400.
I didn't take him.
Oh, you didn't take him.
Stop the music, buddy.
Music.
You're right though. Everything you said. I mean, look, he's really emerged in that backfield this year. His price tag still isn't, it's still very affordable, but I went a different direction. But do you want to explain why you took him? I mean, it's a good roster move. That's, obviously I'm going to say that.
I mean, I just think this point, I got this one. I think I said this on the pick show last night. I got this as like a 31-28 or 34-28, or I'm sorry, 34-31 game. And I think both teams' key to success is the ground. And I think both teams will have success on the ground. Both these defenses don't have elite run defenses. So I think points and yardage will be available. So that's my logic there. Who's your last running back?
No, I have 2 more running backs, actually. So I don't know. We just saw this guy run for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game that had the best TV ratings in a very long time, I think. So obviously I'm going to Michigan. I'm going with a top 5 rushing attack in the country, and that is Donovan Edwards, 6.4K. I still don't think Corum's going to play this game. I don't think they really need him.
Yeah. Well, they can lose this game and be in, which is still ridiculous considering they're at a conference schedule. In my opinion, I think, if they were to lose to Purdue, I think
they probably still get in. I don't think they want to.
Everyone's saying definitely.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to lay off the gas because of that. But I do think that's maybe a reason why you don't rush Corum back. Obviously, Donovan Edwards can handle the load without him. And if you're talking about having a month off after this game to get ready for the playoffs, rest Blake Corum. And that's why I think Donovan Edwards is a no-brainer to roster at 6.4K.
Yeah.
You didn't take him, though, did you?
Nope. I don't want these Michigan bums. You know what I mean? I took them last week. All right. No, I'm joking. Makes sense. I think Ron English has done a good job on that defense.
Right. Well, okay, so let me just move along to my fourth running back, and I had to get somebody in the Sun Belt Championship. And here's another guy that has actually ran for over 200 in 2 straight games. Troy's Kamani Vidal for 5.7K. Yeah, 33 for 208 and 4 touchdowns last week. That's 50 fantasy points. Week before, 29 for 242 and 2 touchdowns. That's 40 fantasy points. Coastal's defense looked very iffy in the game against James Madison. And I picked Troy to cover the 8.5 here. So I think they're going to be able to do some things offensively. That offense is getting better. So 5.7K, Kamani Vidal.
All right. Wait, so that's all your running backs, right?
Yes, I only have 3 receivers. So do you want to do the honors?
I loading up on my boys. All right. Tragic magic is at stake. Charlie Jones and Payne Durham are going to dominate the Wolverines.
Man, you're going all in here with the Purdue against a very good defense of Michigan. So it's a ballsy play.
It is a very good defense. But at the same time, I believe, unlike Ryan Day, unlike Mike Loxley, who, believe it or not, they found some success in the air.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Brom can scheme up better than pretty much most of the coaches in the Big Ten.
Okay.
And I think he's going to be able to give Jim Harbaugh and that Wolverine defense a lot of problems with the way I wouldn't be surprised if you saw HB toss passes or the wide receiver screen pass back to the quarterback, shit like that, because Brom keeps you off balance, man. And I think Charlie Jones and Durham are going to get up for them.
Going all in on Purdue is an interesting call after we just saw what Michigan, just totally shut down that vaunted Ohio State offense in the second half. All I'm saying is it's a gutsy play.
Well, here's another thing, too. He's only played Brom once, and that was Brom's first year.
Yeah.
So they're not familiar with each other.
That's true.
It's not like playing Ohio State every year.
Yeah.
Where they do the same shit. So.
All right. You're making some sound arguments. Obviously, your success this weekend will hinge on Purdue.
I got other strong plays I'm going to get to.
All right. Well, my 3 receivers are all priced between 5.8 and 6.6K. So I got kind of middle of the road guys, and it's going to start with Antoine Green of UNC, because I do think the UNC passing game it's a volume play, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned that Drake May has not been the most efficient quarterback of late, but he's still getting 40 pass attempts a game. And especially if Clemson rolls coverage to Josh Downs, I think that opens things up for Antoine Green, who on the season has 38 for 745 and 7 touchdowns. He's my top price receiver.
Okay. I mean, look, anything Tar Heel offense related, and knowing Clemson secondary is just not the same. I think it's a solid play.
And again, the highest over under on the whole day of 63.5. You didn't have anybody from that game?
No.
ACC hater.
Yeah, I stay away from that shit ass game. I'm probably watching college basketball game. I know I'll have that on somewhere in the studio, but that's not on the. I'm more excited for the MAC championship than I am the ACC championship.
Well, it is basically a meaningless game. I'll give you that much, but that doesn't mean it won't have meaning as far as DFS goes.
Sure.
So who's your third receiver?
Third, and I'm thinking right now about ditching him, but he's been so good to me all year. Wigloos, baby. Wigloos. Sam Wigloos.
Yeah, that's a little bit iffy with the new quarterback that's not quite as accomplished of a passer.
Antoine Green is 6,600. I'll make that transition to your shit ACC game. Antoine Green, let's go.
All right. My second receiver, I got 2 left here. One of my favorite plays when he is in a big game, and that is Georgia's tight end Brock Bowers.
Beast.
He's going to have some quiet games where Georgia just blows out Vanderbilt or something, but in big games, Bowers shows up, and I think he could be in store for a very big afternoon against LSU on Saturday. 6K.
Should be playing at Cal Berkeley, that rat Yeah, you're right. You're right. I thought about rostering him, but I just went with a better lineup. So
Your last guy?
my last guy, look, Kansas State. Here's a difference since that first TCU matchup, I believe. They're dinged up in the secondary. Their best corner and I think their safety might be playing this game, but I think their corner tore his ACL. He's out for the year. Their best corner. I'm going to take a shot on Tay Barber at 5,500, just because I do think if there's an area of weakness right now with K-State that we didn't see in the first matchup, it's their secondary. And it's a shame because their secondary, I think, was one of the better secondaries in the Big 12. So I don't think it's 100%. Tay Barber, 5,500.
Makes sense to get a piece of that game. He's your only guy in that game, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it makes sense. I had Deuce Vaughn. I think you have to have at least a player in that game with the second highest over under. So I like it. But my last guy was what did you say? 5,500?
Yeah.
My last guy is $300 more expensive. And I think it makes sense to get a piece of the UCF passing game because I think Rice Plumlee is probably not going to play. And if so, Mikey Keene comes in and the offense will be more passing than running. And if that's the case, and I like what Kobe Hudson can do for 5.8K. He's had a couple 100-yard performances on the year. At the first game against Tulane, he was very quiet. So I look for him to bounce back and have a nice game here for 5.8K. Kobe Hudson, let's do it.
The Auburn transfer. Yeah,
That's right.
I like it.
Pedigree, buddy. SEC pedigree.
What game are you most excited to watch on Saturday?
It's got to be Kansas State TCU. It's got to be.
Big 12 hater. He's back. He's coming back around.
Well, it's got the most, I think that's the most implications on your playoff or your invitational that you like to call it. Because every other game here doesn't really matter. Georgia could lose and still make it. Michigan could lose and still make it.
I actually think, too, Kansas State would beat every other team. Like, if you put Kansas State against Purdue, I think Kansas State wins. You put Kansas State against LSU, I think Kansas State wins. I think you put Kansas State against Utah, I think Kansas State wins. You put Kansas State against, I actually think Kansas State would beat Clemson or North Carolina.
And it's actually a crock of shit that we say if TCU loses, they might not make it because they have just as much of a resume as Georgia or Michigan.
Oh, they have a better resume than Michigan.
But we know how things work, don't they?
Yeah. they should. I mean, that's what's hilarious is I saw someone put out the strength of schedule, which, is always jaded anyway, but they still had TCU as the number one out of the teams that were in the contention, like in the top 10. TCU had the hardest road. And I'm like, yeah, why are they not number one then? If we're going to use this other years to fit the SEC's narrative of them being number one, at least put them number two. Because I get it. You could say, well, Georgia's the defending champs. You have to beat them. I can even get on board with that. But to put Michigan above TCU is fucking pathetic.
Yeah.
It's pathetic, man.
So let me ask you this. Like, do you want to see carnage where you can bitch and complain about the selection committee, meaning you want to see TCU lose? Or do you want all four teams currently in to win, to have like no arguments whatsoever? What's your preference there?
Well, my problem is I also have a ticket for Kansas State to win the Big 12.
Go with your heart or your pocketbook, buddy. Which one?
Well, and also, I'll be honest, like I kind of love the history of the Big 12 championship game because I feel like maybe 10 times in its short history, the SEC championship's been around a lot longer than the Big 12 championship, but
sure. That
thing has voodoo on it. I mean, do I got to mention the year K-State with Michael Bishop when they were gonna be playing in the national championship and Albert Connell and A&M upset them, or the time Texas is about to play for the national championship and Colorado upsets them, or the time Oklahoma is about to play for the national championship and Darren Sproles upsets them. Like even last year, Oklahoma State about to be in the Invitational, Baylor stops them by an inch. Like right. This game has voodoo on it. So,
do you think TCU is the only one who might not make it? Like, what if USC loses?
There's a chance they might put Ohio State in there, but
so you think Georgia and Michigan are in regardless?
Which is ridiculous.
Just because they have the bigger names,
yeah,
in the bigger conferences, basically.
Yeah. I mean, which is crazy because to me, like, to who has the most risk, in my opinion, like who should have the most risk? I think it should be Michigan. They're at a
with their
conference schedule.
yes.
Yeah,
for
and then
sure.
the fact that Purdue, I think, is probably the worst of all the like. I think LSU's been better than Purdue this year.
Agreed.
I think Utah's been better than Purdue this year.
Agreed.
I think Kansas State's been better than Purdue. So I
Yeah.
think they should be the one. If you're gonna out anyone in there, it should be them. Even though I kind of think that all four probably have a look because you're playing the extra game. The argument there is that you're playing the extra game. It's like Patty C saying, "Well, Ohio State should be in for what? Not playing a game." I have huge problems with that. To me, you have to play in the 13th game to get
sure.
in.
For
Yeah.
sure. Agreed.
Yeah, but anyway, our battle of bourbon is what?
Oh yeah. Well, why don't we just keep it at the quarterback position? My Ohio Bobcat against your spoiler maker.
Let's go. All right, folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. Also, remember, we do DFS for college basketball too. Subscribe to the College Basketball Experience as well. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast and also on YouTube. We're College Basketball Experience, College Football Experience come together on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Subscribe over there. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Come on. What are you doing with your time? It takes 2 minutes. Get on over there and do that. Give us a follow on Twitter at TCE on SGPN, NC Nicks on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. Give me a follow, all of us a follow, and
thanks for rocking with us this year.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Always such a blast. And we will still have the bowl games and the invitational DFS. So stick around. We'll have episodes. So let's do that. Let's roll. Get that SGPN app. Come talk college football DFS with us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. This is the College Football Experience Conference Championship DFS show. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Thank you. Well, this is a great way to get started. And I haven't even won all my games yet. It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
I can't talk to this son of a bitch. I can't talk to that son of a bitch. I didn't come here to study. I came here to study. He sucks. He really sucks.
Hit the Olympics. Doesn't matter who wins because they're all losers.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
Congratulations. And you come in with the best